Well, in this presentation tonight, I thought we would talk about the Pure program and what makes it unique. And when we started, we had our different interviews with each of you, and we talked about what you would like to teach. I'd like to know a little bit of information about why you are drawn to that topic that you taught in the Pure program. Why don't we start with Ellen? I'll just kind of go around and we'll get everyone's background on that. Why did you choose your topic?
It's funny being live, it's also impromptu as well. But what I did about that is I found my why in life, other than being first and foremost a mom dedicated to my daughter. It's to make other people in this world feel valued and appreciated for what they do and respected. And sometimes we don't get that. And if we do, it's wonderful. If we don't, we know that feeling. So I'm picking that topic and embracing it is because it's really important to be the leader, be the role model. If you might have people on your team that maybe they don't speak up or don't feel comfortable, you want to have that time to make them feel at ease so that they can share, because even if someone's quiet doesn't mean they don't have a brilliant idea. So having that type of space, and then, trust and collaboration is built. And that's why I did pick that. And then there's little nuances involved and some case studies. So I just thought with my teaching background with my MBA students, where I teach leadership and management specialization, everything just ties in. We have people who are in management or different roles in leadership. And a lot of times I'm excited to see how they grow. And some of the courses from the higher education, what I've done is allowed them to change it a little bit to make it more applicable for their course, not their course, but their teams, even though as long as the grading rubric's fine, that way they can do something more than just for a grade, but it's there for the real world. And I always like to hear back how that was inspiring. So that's why.
Well, it's fantastic. I know we talked about that earlier today.
Yeah.
So, that's great. Well, I'm glad that you were drawn to that topic. And I feel like it's easier to teach when you're passionate about that topic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I could see the other instructors going through it as we have to see what they've done. You can definitely tell that they are not only interested, but want others to feel at ease while they're watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's go up on my screen up top to Andrea. Why don't you tell us about your course and why you wanted to teach that topic?
Well, that's a great question. And I did have a few options to choose from, but the one that I was really drawn to was mastering time and focusing on time management, because I get asked the question so much, not just from my mentees and persons who are part of my community of practice, but also my clients. Like, how can I better manage my time? Is there some strategies that you could help me with? Or, what can I do? Because I feel as though I'm always busy, but I'm not productive. And I coach people and I tell them there's a difference. There's a huge difference between being busy and being productive. And I've actually implemented so many of these strategies into my own life, and persons think that I have this organization that have like 100 employees, right? Because I give the impression that so much is being done, and it is, but it's just that I've learned how to master my time. And that's what I put into this course. It's not just theory or fluff, like you say, Joe. It's actually, what do I use? How am I able to be successful and manage my time as best as I can? Because I know that time is the one commodity that we all have an even playing field with. Right. There's 86,400 seconds in a day for everybody. I wish I had a bit more, but we don't. We don't get to add time to our day. So what we have to do is make sure that we implement strategies to be as productive as we can. And I've been teaching this for a few years now. I've been living by it every day. And when I got the opportunity to teach this class, I jumped on it, because I was, let me share what I live. I'm not just teaching theory. I'm telling persons who take this course, this actually works. It's working for me. You can see it in my life. So it can work for you too. And you can apply these strategies immediately. This isn't something that takes time to learn. Once you know how to do it, apply it, it works.
Yeah, and that's when we started talking about you getting involved in the program, and I saw your outline and your synopsis of the course. That was what I liked the most, was this isn't theoretical. This is actually how to do it. And that's a common thread among all of us. We wanted applicable skills. So I'm so happy that, you decided to join us and get involved with that course, because it's very much, it's true. You're living it. And that's what we want from the program. We don't want the theory and fluff. We can get that elsewhere.
Well, and in general, Joe, that's what I've liked about learning from all of these folks and the others. It's, I've got a bookshelf full of books, and that's one thing, but hearing from people like Andrea who have done it and said, yes, this works, or that didn't, so much better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's come down to Briettny, cut you off guard, and tell us about your course and why you're passionate about your leadership and emotional intelligence.
He did catch me off guard, and I was processing what comes to mind. When first learning about PURE being an acronym for Projects Under Real Expectations, there is an arsenal holding the PMP, holding now the PMOCP, how to set up a project for success through its 5 phases, right? Initiation to close. And we know that they're going to make some pivots, and we know there are going to be stressful moments of a project. We know we might not have the resources either, but what you ideally will have are those human resources. And we've seen that evolve into the types of resources that we even allocate time to. And I wanted to add, in thinking about what to offer to PURE, a part of me that has grounded me in the work of project management and created psychological safety and create sense of belonging and create communities of practice in every team that we lead, execute, and support with. And so really there is a science, I find, in what does Scrum say we need to do? How does Kanban, love that board, help me organize my thoughts? But where has there been, in my own lived experience, I answered my own question, a resource to create culture that is acknowledging of all differences of people, even on this call, and the teams that we've lead, creating spaciousness for conflict that is part of project management. I was lacking in finding those resources, and it was servant leadership that has felt so whole in being able to be applied from initiation to risk management to closing. And so being able to invest not only in the methodologies, but bringing a light to the relationships that we hold so dear, because none of these projects in any of our lives, and our own projects as a person, is going to be successful without a sphere of influence, a sense of community. And so similar to Andrea, it's what I've lived and breathed from educational counseling and student affairs, thinking about what is it in your career that you want to hold in purpose. The course that I've created for all of you, you'll find that we're going to talk about what does it mean to be a servant leader in a remote environment? What does it mean to be a servant leader in a hybrid environment? How do you navigate technology in 2025 right now so that there are ways to honor each other when your camera's on and your camera's off? But I also built into the course ways for servant leadership to not only invest in the team, but to influence upper management. There is a beauty to project management, but I all know, as I look at the screen right now and we're not in our heads, we influence. We have some authority, but oftentimes we're looking for buy-in, we're looking for approval, we're looking for a change request that is pending. And so you'll find in the course, for those that join PURE, and I encourage you, as you hear from my colleagues and I, ways that you can bring in data, both quantitative and qualitatively, so that the theory of servant leadership, the empathy, the commitment to the growth of others, the stewardship of your resources, those are its pillars, is what you bring to every space that you're in with the servant leader mindset. So all of the above, Joe, is what has brought that course together. But I admit, there were some topics I really wanted to dive deeper in, but I knew that not only were there resources and the certifications we all hold, but our wisdom, our lived experience, because where else do you learn how to people? How do you ensure that we're all able to connect and be on the same page with the definition of done and ending that project with success, on time, and within budget? That's what brought my course, Shaping Culture from the Middle, is to emphasize the power of being a middle manager with servant leadership essentials.
For me, it was, I work in the banking industry, and I get bored a lot with all the monotony of, I don't know if anybody's ever worked with a highly regulated environment as a project manager before, but that really, and so about the traditional and waterfall, and I was brought up in an agile world, agile environment, and so it's just kind of like always constantly changing. And I also knew how burnt out I felt when there was no breaks. We're constantly going into sprints and developing stuff. And I also know the extreme of the other side where there's nothing going on. I'm thinking, I have no hair to pull, but I want to pull it out, right? So using hybrid methods just really changed everything for me. It's like, well, sufficient. It's just like the ACP course, just sufficient.
Right.
The documentation just needs to be just sufficient, and that's it. And so just really having that mindset, that the mindset of a project manager in an agile world, and also a traditional world, and just kind of blend that together. Just it's been a career changer for me. It's been a life changer, game changer for me. And I felt like everybody else needed to be, to come into that world, if that makes sense.
Sure. Well, in the program itself, we do, it's a bit of a hybrid, because you actually get the real value by completing the program, where you get your digital badge and certificate. But we also did these incremental deliverables.
Yes.
Of course, you get your PDUs as you go. You don't have to wait till the very end of the year and pass the exam to get your PDUs. You get it as you go. So it's kind of a hybrid approach. And there's so many opportunities for hybrid that it's not, I mean, Agile is not everything, but there's so many great things from Agile that we can leverage to get things done and to
absolutely
be more creative. And well, welcome, David. I'm glad you're involved, and welcome.
Excited to be involved in this. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Well, let's go to Robert. Robert, tell us, I know you taught a couple of classes. Yeah, you've already mentioned a couple of those, but why were you drawn to those?
Yeah, I started with self-care because I've realized, and Briettny, you were speaking about like the human connection, and I've worked with people who are like very talented in what they do, but not very talented with, communicating or helping explain something, or if there's a problem. I was told once, we've got to yank you off an entire department because you're doing so poorly, and it took 3 months to get the feedback. And in that intervening 3 months, the monkey mind is going, and I was stressed out and I couldn't focus. And so I was, how do I fix this for myself? Because I don't like that. I can't change that person, but what can I do to care for Rob so I can be sane and get through this? And I quickly found there were things I was already doing, eating well or sleeping or those things. But there's a whole host of other tools out there that I could try and apply. Meditation, I started every day for 10 minutes just to kind of calm that down.
Right.
And so I chose that topic because I'm, if I'm having that problem, there are probably at least 2 or 3 other people out there.
Well, we're all human. We're all having those problems.
Yeah, to some degree. And it's then sharing the tools that I found useful. And kind of like David was saying with hybrid, like there'll be pieces of things that can work in some ways, in other ways. But then just offering those things for folks to say, hey, here's what has worked for me. Here's what I understand for some research. I've spoken to some folks, my own therapist. I bounce ideas off of them. And not that I'm a therapist or a trained fill in the blank, but hey, these are practical things that I do daily to make sure that when I show up at work, or I have to talk to my spouse or do something, I have the energy and focus and can do it. And I don't get trapped in that monkey mind of, oh, everything's terrible. What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So that's why I focused on that topic, because I got so much value out of it, and I realized how much impact others could get from it.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. Well, I'm glad you're here, Robert. And I think you have some really good content in there. And again, it's you're not, like you said, you're not a therapist, but these are what's working in your life. And I have found, like, if I run up against an issue or having trouble or I can't figure something out, I know I'm not the first person to have this. Somebody else has been there before me. And that's one of the benefits of all of our courses, but your course is like, hey, project management can be stressful.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Yeah, you've got to be able to manage stress and take care of yourself, make yourself a priority. So it's so great. Well, welcome, and I'm happy you're here.
Me too. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah. Let's talk to Walt. Walt, tell us about your course and why you were drawn to that.
Well, in the first 25 years of my 50-year project management career, I actually did design. So I did drawings, and my way of communicating was the drawing. So I learned early on that the clearer the drawings were and the more detailed they were, the better the results, the less questions. So when I got into project management later in my career, it was the same thing. Clear communications was the way to get a point across, minimize meetings, minimize confusion. And I've led teams, I've led a lot of projects of different sizes, different types, and there's different people you deal with all the time. There's different aspects of communication that work for each of them. And I just learned how important that was. So about a year and a half ago, I was asked to contribute a chapter in a project management book, actually, that was led by one of the other instructors here, John Connolly. And I wrote a chapter on communications. So when you reached out to me about joining this program, I thought, well, I've already started something. I wrote this chapter on it. Why not expand on it and turn it into a course? So I took that and just created an outline for all the different types of communication and methods and put together the course. And with the stress that it is not, there is no one point in a project where communication is important. The entire project, communication is important. And we communicate in many different ways throughout that project. So that's what I focused on in the course.